Yeah. Okay. Nishita madam, can we start now?
Yes, ma'am, we can start. Just tell me the
Okay.
name who is presenting and the topic so that I can note it down.
Yeah.
Because,
Prerna will be presenting.
okay,
She will herself tell her topic so that
okay.
you can record it. Yeah, you can write it down. Yeah, Prerna.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am. I'll start. Yeah.
you can present it.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone, to all the panelists and all the teachers and the presenters. I'm Prerna. I'm final year architecture student, and I'll just share my screen and start presenting my project. Can you see my screen, ma'am?
I can
Yeah.
see it, yeah.
Okay. So the topic is a solidarity center, and it talks about how a system, or it talks about how a project looks at on the marginalized communities of the society. So the aim of the project is envisioning social inclusion for sex workers through architecture and design. To just give a insight on
One
the
second,
project.
Prerna. There is some
Yes, ma'am.
echo coming. There is some echo coming.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
is the audio still having disturbance, ma'am?
No, now it is fine.
No, I'm
Go
getting
ahead.
it clearly. I'm getting it clearly, yeah.
Okay. So it talks about the aim of the project and objective is envisioning social inclusion for sex workers through architecture and design. To just run you through the context of the project, I'm looking towards social inclusion, and I'm explaining on how what is the effects of exclusion and why we should look into how inclusion can be done. So the major two reasons for why we should look into how exclusion should be faded away or should be looked into is because of the humans and also because of the social capital. There are a lot of research papers and the data which says that the entire annual productivity of the country itself has been dropping because of how the marginalized communities are not considered to be in the GDP of the country, and they do not have any kind of a job in terms of a well respectable job, even instead of a respectable job, even in terms of like for even their livelihood. So we should look at the how they that can be assessed, and also in terms of human dignity, and also on how people being stigmatized, people being marginalized only because of the kind of stigma that is associated. So I had a wide varied group of marginalized communities that I could address. Since I had to make a prototype for one community, I thought it can be in such a way that it can be replicated for the other communities as well. So the community I have picked for now is the sex workers. And in the maps here, I'm just showing on how the context of prostitution and about the sex workers is in the world and also in India. So the one which is in red are the places where the prostitution is illegal, and the one which is orange is it also says prostitution is illegal, but the prostitution is legal, but brothel keeping and pimping is not. So this kind of shows a scenario that there is a major group, and this group has to be addressed, and we should look into how we can go about the entire stigma which is associated with them. So I have like I developed a design strategy that can be involved to overcome exclusion. So the first step is recognizing social exclusion, where I looked into how we can do programs with the trust building with with the help of NGOs and CBOs, since we know that a lot of NGOs are already working towards how we can make the livelihood of the marginalized communities better. So that would be the first step, where we could probably in the context of the sex workers, we could probably enter the red light districts or the places where they operate, and we could look into how we can give them opportunities and even choices where they can make a better livelihood. In the second, once that phase is done, I'm looking into a second phase where once that trust building is done and once people are comfortable with the idea of the uh, what the entire project is looking forward, we can go about giving them opportunities where they can enhance their abilities, look into the opportunities they can get, and in turn they can come to a platform where they have a dignity on themselves, and they are judged on the kind of platform they are placed on. And in the third phase, I'm looking into how after they develop these abilities and skills, they can look into how they can be self-sustainable in terms of channelizing their work through markets, channelizing their skills through services like giving some small DIY classes, or even it could be few lectures for small daycares, or it could be anything. And it also could be in terms of like spaces where people can if they have developed skills such as performing and acting skills, they can even perform, and we can create spaces where they can be more vocal and where they can express their ideas. So in turn, I feel in the end, like with these phases, by part, we can achieve a very socially inclusive society. And in by all through these phases, it will be into a point where people are recognizing them for the kind of skills and standard they have, rather than the stigma that has been associated. So the key highlights of the projects itself says that the manual entirely looks at a social issue, and it happens in phases, and it involves multiple sectors of society. It is not just the sex workers, it is also about how the people around them are going to respond to it. And it is the project unfolds not just one issue in terms of like stigma, but it also looks into how employment can be given, how education can be given, how we can have safer surroundings for them. And also in turn, once it is all interlinked, so once one issue is addressed, even the neighborhoods are benefited because of the kind of public realm that is being brought into the city. And the design strategy can be replicated for the same prototype can be even applied to various other marginalized communities with slight changes based on the kind of context it is. And such systems have already started in various other Western countries. And since India being known to be one of the oldest country that is having a history of prostitution, I think it is also a time for India for taking up the system. And yeah, the impact levels are going to be urban and global context. So I've just broke it down into it for phases and the kind of duration it would take and the budget. So in my first phase, it's going to be research and development, which is going to take 2 to 3 months, and the budget would be around 50 to 70,000 for all the kind of recordings and the surveys and the documentation that has to be done with the collectives that are already dealing with the sex workers. And looking at a context in Bangalore also, we can approach them accordingly. Uh, Second phase is scouting of space. So once this is done, we will have a clarity regarding how and where do I actually locate my place. It could be either based in the places where they operate, or it could also be in a place where they can transit out and use. In the end, it is all about the well-being and the choice that the sex workers as a community make. And so during this phase, there will be a lot of I will be, since I have a very tight budget, it could be like we could look at dilapidated structures, we could identify these renovated structures, or we could even look into the structures which can be interiors can be redone on the basis of functions that we need, and also in terms of like the kind of activities also that we would need to perform in particular locations. So this would take around 2 months, and the budget would be for around 25 to 50,000. In the phase three, I have so since this is a pilot project and it's very experimental, so I was proposing of how we could build a space and we could do a pilot run to understand how the people are going to respond. And since that would be a much efficient way about going the entire project, because there is a lot of there's a lot of things that are dependent on the project success. So I thought of a pilot run, and building of a space could also be based on the kind of function that I'm proposing. So in the coming few slides, I'll explain regarding what activities I want to propose in what locations, and the kind of materials as well. So once that is done, I was looking at a community space or a restaurant and activity space. In turn, it is about how the people can come together for for a common platform. So it could be either food centric, it could be performance centric, or it could be culture centric. So once the pilot run is done, I will look into how the people have responded, all the data, and then I'll do an evaluation and do the needed changes. So these are my 4 phases. So this is the kind of slide that I've come up based on the kind of events or the kind of activities that will be happening in the project. So the NGOs have already been working on varied aspects on how we can do a better livelihood for the people. So I'm just looking into how an architecture student can be in align with the work that is already being done. So the NGOs have been working towards fundraising events, have been doing a lot of vocal and participatory events, and they have been having uh, learning institutes, and they're even having a place where they can broadcast these voice recordings to the people, so people understand the story behind them and they can be more accepted. So I was looking at how we can do these in terms of spaces as an architect. So while doing this, the guidelines that will be followed will be public tolerance, public interaction, the narratives from the previous work that I've already done for the jury, and understanding the two communities. So here by two communities, I mean one is the public and one is the target community, that is the sex workers. So it is all about how these two groups interact with each other and adapted to the Bangalore context, because the previous work that I had done was in the context of Kolkata, and creating a space where the marginalized communities feel safe and also feel free enough to come and interact. And also this will be done in presence of the authorities, groups, and under the surveillance of like already working NGOs and CBOs that have already been working. So there will be a surveillance, and we can look into how it can be a safer space for a smooth movement of people. So I proposed three major materials. So one was the shipping containers. So the project looks into how various places in the city can be like hotspots, and where we can put these smaller interventions, and we can make it in such a way that these places have like a very high impact. Even though the infrastructure could be very small, the impact that will have in the society, in the neighborhood, would be a huge one. So we could probably have these shipping containers where they have like smaller restaurants, or they have smaller interaction spaces, or it could even be a small seminar. So like to just take an example, we could take the example of Rangoli Art Center in Bangalore itself. The location of the art center is in such a way that people who are just moving around the place also get attracted to, even though there's like a very random seminar that is going on. So we could even host that. So, and I also propose shipping containers in the mind that we can, since it's a prototype, we can keep moving these from place to place, and it will be like a much lesser um, budget, or it could be a lesser cost in terms of project, and it's very feasible in terms of where we can locate them. So this was one proposal where they can even have like places where they can put on their work in terms of craft and art, because they're highly talented in art and craft, and they can even put up shows, they can have seminars, and they can even do food centric, that can be restaurants. Then I proposed wood, since we can have like these learning institute and workshops that can happen where people can come and like learn whatever they feel like. So I felt it could be very precise, and it could be a very narrow also, but it is very feasible in terms of the kind of infrastructure. And again, it is a temporary structure, so we can keep moving it here and there, and we can look into how the joints and stuff can be made, so it is easier for transporting as well. Third one was bamboo and steel, because I was so basically in the shipping containers, I was looking at locations such as pavements and streets, and in terms of the wood, I was looking at a much bigger area or bigger space compared to the shipping containers, which can host like workshops. In the bamboo and steel, it's looking at a area which is much bigger than the other two that I already discussed. So this is like the open areas, and it can look into how we can gather more events in terms of like when there is like flea markets, or when there is like performing centric activities. So they need a bigger platform where they can have like a big event. So I was looking at this material where this can be done. And yeah, so this is the entire proposal for my project. And the insights to my previous work was, since I mentioned that I had done it in Kolkata, so I had done it from a red light district to a place, to a site which is like 5 kilometers in radius with the red light district. So I had like these few junctions which could connect to the red light district to the city, and eventually people are gonna come by face and then be a part of the city. So that is the entire project about. Yeah, thank you. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I found your project very interesting. First of all, you're doing a very noble cause for the socially exclusive people, and then trying to give them a dignity of labor by, making such this like food centric, performance centric, and cultural centric platforms. Also, the kind of materials you have used to explore this is very interesting. But can it be prototype? Is it only for the sex workers, or is it also for the children who are abandoned and all that?
Yes, ma'am. So the thing is, it is a prototype that can be done for every other group as well, because the idea is going to remain the same. That is
No,
like
but the
the first.
programs are going to change if it's going to be
Yes,
prototype,
ma'am.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the idea is going to be of how we can approach in four different phases, but the only in terms of areas and in terms of the area statements, in terms of the functions that we have to define the spaces differently.
And the
So
context, as the context changes, I think the area requirements will change,
yes, ma'am.
isn't it?
Yes,
But
ma'am.
the same infrastructure will cater to that, the same kind of
Definitely, ma'am.
materials. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found your idea very interesting, because
Thank you,
if it
ma'am.
could be prototype, and you're doing a very great thing for the socially exclusive people. Interesting idea, interesting concepts. Yeah, keep it up.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you, Prerna. Nalini madam and Gayatri madam, please say something about how you felt.
No, the idea is really good. One thing like suggestion which would be like how you can extend it to the development of these, like in terms of NGO when you said. So a quick check on the market right now will help. Like how many are like is there any organization which will be ready to come forward to do such?
Uh, yes, ma'am. I do have a data on that as well. So Infosys is already working towards this, and also there are also like the World Bank is working towards how it can. I do have a slide. I can just present that.
Prerna, I just had one question. Who is going to fund these things?
Yes, ma'am. I have a slide on that. Just a second. Yeah. So this was a slide where I had done about how we can go about the funding when I had done my thesis project. So such projects are usually done through impact bonds. So impact bond is a bond where like a very well versed company or a MNC takes upon a social cause and works on how it can look into the funding, and how it can look into how we can go about this entire issue. So few such in the global context, few such institutions are Infosys Foundation and also the World Bank. So World Bank has come up with a very new clause recently, saying on how the marginalized community should be given an entire like, even in terms of how you are going to hire a group of people, like one sector has to be given it to them. So it looks into how inclusivity can be brought in, because end of the day it talks about the annual productivity of the country. So Infosys has one such foundation, and there are various other CSRs, that is corporate sector resources, that are helping, and also yeah, Infosys, World Bank, and there are a couple more institutions and companies. And the slide on the lower right side talks about how in Kolkata there was an event called Sex Workers Freedom Festival, which had like 216 other different nationalities that came in to be a part of it, and the entire thing was funded by the World Bank. So the thing can be executed in terms of funding.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Prerna. Anybody else has any questions? So if nobody else has any question, thank you, Nisha madam, for actually putting up a lot of questions to her, and I hope you got all the answers from her rightly.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yeah. She was very
Yeah,
clear about what she wants to do. Yeah.
yeah. So shall we move to the next one?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Prerna.
Thank you,
Gayatri
ma'am.
madam, please suggest who is going to be the next one.
Is it like, do we want to finish the architecture students and then?
No. Let us not do that, because we'll do it an alternative. Otherwise, planning students will have to wait for a very long time.
Right. So
So now it's going to be planning student, ma'am.
Yeah. So Nishita madam, we have here Dr. Nalini is the research head,
Okay.
and Dr. Gayatri is planning head.
Okay.
Okay, so actually these are the two people who are monitoring all the students related academic projects, everything. So they'll be the one who will be actually interacting with you now.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Gayatri madam, please suggest who is going to be taking up.
so shall I ask Medha to present?
Medha,
Medha
are
is
you
from
ready?
planning.
Yes, ma'am, I'll just present.
Okay. Please introduce yourself fully and then start.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So good morning, all. My name is Medha. I'm from planning department. So I'll be explaining about my project, that is the land suitability analysis for agriculture land using GIS for Bangalore Rural District. So I'll just present my presentation.
Share your file, please.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Ma'am, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nishita madam, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. I can see. I can see them. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll start. So the basic introduction of land suitability analysis. This is one of the analysis done to give a land use with a defined use for an appropriate criteria and parameters. This involves various evaluation and grouping of various areas of land for the suitability of a defined use. It is a situation where to understand the different criteria to understand the land evolution, we use a method called analytical hierarchy process, which is used to understand various criteria and give a multi-criteria decision-making approach for land evolution. For this, GIS is one of the powerful tool used for this analysis to maintain and analyze the output of the spatial and attribute data. This analysis includes various spatial analysis and other attribute data for doing the strong analysis for land suitability. So the main aim of my study is to explore the analytical hierarchy process decision making approach in analyzing the potential suitable for agriculture land in the study area and to stop the conversion of agriculture to non-agriculture land. My objective will be is to develop multi-criteria decision-making techniques using AHP model for land suitability analysis for agriculture land and to understand the existing situation and importance of agriculture land in my study area for the future conservation. So the scope will be is to do the suitable land for whole Bangalore rural district by considering various socio-economic aspects and topography aspects for understanding and comparison with the existing situation. Especially when we see Bangalore rural is with various study, we come to know that Bangalore urban is being rapidly urbanized. So in future, the Bangalore urbanization can spread towards the Bangalore rural. So to stop the unnecessary conversion of agriculture to non-agriculture land, so we can do the land suitability analysis and understand the agriculture land and preserve it for future conservation instead of using for other purpose. So the study area major crops of agriculture crops grown in this district are food crops, vegetable crops, fruit crops, and floriculture crops. So these are the major crops grown in the Bangalore rural district. So my methodology or the parameters which I've used for my study is, First, we came up with the aims and objectives for my study, and then the selection of study area and understanding of the study area. Next comes with the literature studies and data collection for various parameters. So after going through all the literature study, we came up with the parameters for this study. So I've categorized into three parameters. One is soil properties, socio-economic aspects, environmental conditions. So under soil properties, socio-economic aspects and environmental aspects, there are various sub-criteria taken, especially soil properties are the main parameters used for the land suitability, as agriculture land is to grow the plant. We need various social properties to understand for the land evolution. So next comes with the AHP process, which is comparison with the various parameters. We compare with each other and calculate the weights based on their importance. And we do the weighted overlay analysis in GIS. Next comes with the land suitability for agriculture land using different classes, and reclassify those analysis and do the final suitability maps for agriculture land. And last comes with the comparison of suitable land and the existing situation in the study area. So when it comes to my project, the suitability is one of the measure done for a suitable land for a particular use, and it is one of the measure how well the quantities of land is used for a particular form of land. So the GIS crop suitability helps to take decision whether the system is adoptable or it can be land evaluated, and the adjustment of crop requirements and the new environmental data sets. So the my study will give three outcomes. One is about as I told, Bangalore urban is more rapid urbanization. So it observes when we observe in various studies, when you can see in the map also, it has been increased uh, more than the 50%. So towards Bangalore rural in future. So to avoid the conversion of agriculture to non-agriculture land, so my study will be more accurate to understand that. And next comes my study also carry various suitable crops in the study area by considering various social, economic, soil and environmental conditions, which helps the farmers to grow their crops. And next comes with when we do any master plans or a government take any decision to take the master plans to avoid the loss of agriculture land to non-agriculture, they can take a decision that agricultural land cannot be converted to any other purpose. So all these three outcomes will be from my study. So from these advantages, my project can be executable and selected for the funding. So majorly, as my study will be including more remote sensing data or a spatial data, usually for a high resolution data from various organizations. So the minimum charge 5 lakhs approximate. When I went to my internship, I got to know that. So the funding can be for high resolution purpose or any recent data. The minimum charge 5 lakhs. So that is my funding and about my study. Thank you.
Yeah, your study is interesting that you have done this land suitability understanding to prevent the conversion from agricultural to non-agricultural.
Yes.
The involvement of government and them being convinced about this is very important, isn't it? Although the study will be presented, but then
Yes.
how do you really convince the government to this? Because see, if you see in the urban areas, a lot of agricultural land is converted to non-agricultural land.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Yeah.
do you think this land suitability, this analysis which you have given with the different types of crops, will be able to only that is the only factor which will stop the conversion?
Ma'am, why? Because when we do the land suitability, we take various parameters to do that. When we do that, we come to know which are the lands suitable for agriculture, especially. So that other than
No, but the
agriculture land,
income
there
what
are
they get
various.
from the income what they get after they convert the land is huge compared to the that is why most of the land conversions are happening, isn't it? So, how do
Yes,
you
ma'am.
convince on that particular factor?
But the agriculture factor which is happening, which are losing, is tremendous. So the most of the farmers are losing their agriculture land, and they are even the crops
No, even the
grown
migration,
are.
if you see, is happening mainly because they feel that from agricultural crops they are not getting lot of income. So that is the whole reason why there is migration from rural to urban also, and even conversion. So I just wanted to know how do you tackle that particular factor? Because if you see, if they convert the land, the amount of money which you get is huge as compared to if you just do agriculture. So how do you really, the disparity is huge between the two.
Yes, ma'am. But by doing various management, it will help the agriculture land, especially for the farmers. So we can make uh, more production in the agriculture land to make more economic, ma'am.
No, but have you compared the two? If the land is converted, what would be the income, and if it's just agriculture, there has to be some comparison and understanding to give a satisfying answer.
Oh, okay, ma'am. I'll look into that, but I've not gone through that yet.
So,
Okay.
Medha, here, can I ask you if suppose, like as ma'am was mentioning,
Yes,
if
ma'am.
it can't be like, the comparison can't be made, but can you make a decision making tool for the government to decide which lands to go for conversion first and which not? So, a high, good, productive land need not
Yes,
be converted just because of the benefit of the urban locality or getting more money, and
yes. The weight of the land. Yeah.
or what are those Banjar lands or like the lands, less fertile lands can be converted to. So can your tool help in deciding that to the government?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Because to understand that only we take various parameters to understand which land is fertile, which land is not fertile. So that's why we take various environment and soil parameters to do that.
Exactly, ma'am is asking that, right? Ma'am is asking, can if suppose if I'm a farmer and you if you say okay, this is a fertile
Yes,
land
ma'am.
as compared to if I'm selling this land and getting converted, so who the government should be able to take that decision that this land should not be converted,
Yes, ma'am.
whereas the other which is not productive should be. So who is your customer here? Who's your who will use your tool more?
And the role of the government in convincing the government is also very, very important, And there'll be different types of lands, very fertile lands, slightly fertile, non-fertile lands. So non-fertile lands, even if you give the suitability analysis and all that, the farmer will try to really sell it, because he will get a huge income if he sells it and that the land gets converted. So the role of the government in convincing and making strategies for different criteria of lands also is very important.
So yeah.
Yeah. I'll just go through that all these things.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Your name was Medha.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Medha.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else has any other questions? Soumya?
Oh, no, ma'am. Hello. Yeah, Mira, also you can look at where conversion is more, which direction, where the industries are coming up and where the industries are not coming up, and where the conversion helps and, where it can be stopped. That
Okay.
analysis also,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know, you can actually answer the questions with the help of this kind of analysis.
Okay, ma'am. I'll just do that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
See, because if industrial areas or SEZs or such kind of things are there,
Yes, ma'am.
so there the analysis is very important. Whether the farmer will go for agriculture or whether he will sell. Also, it depends on the quality of the land in those areas.
Yes, ma'am.
So there are various parameters which have to be considered also.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Medha. Nalini madam, please suggest who would be the next architecture student.
Revati,
Yes, ma'am.
you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, Revati, you can present. You can first introduce yourself and then present.
Okay, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. My name is Revati, and I'm in 10th semester, ma'am.
Good morning.
You're sharing the screen? Revati?
Ma'am, can you see the screen?
I can see it now.
Okay. Ma'am, my topic is Healing Through Architecture, a PTSD Rehabilitation Center. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder, and it is an anxiety disorder that is developed in a person once they're exposed to traumatic events. So PTSD in India, it's been seen from like quite a long time, and it started off with the initial India-Pakistan partition, and then in the 1960s towards the Indo-China conflicts and the Gujarat riots, and in the 1980s and 1990s like the Bhopal gas tragedy, Kargil war, etc. And in the recent times like the 2000s, we have the Mumbai 26/11 attack, the COVID pandemic, and the few of the natural disasters. In the present day, that's the COVID 19 times of most of the patients who did have to isolate themselves have been found to have this PTSD symptoms from like the survey that was done. And the reason why the a need for such a building is required is because like mental health awareness must be like spread before like it's too late for like the patients usually who have these symptoms. The only thing that would be going through their mind is to either like kill themselves or like suicide. So before it reaches that stage, awareness of such things should be spread so that we can save those lives. And like the PTSD center that like I am proposing will give like the right treatment for such patients. And there's also like a huge global mental like health treatment gap because most of them ignore mental health and they feel that physical health is like more important. But I would say that both physical and mental health is like equally important. The innovative factors like that are there in my design is like I'm trying to fit in all sorts of requirements that like both sorts of patients would want. Like usually in PTSD, we find like few patients who would want to stay in closed spaces itself because of the traumatic events that they would have gone through outside. And there are few patients who want to stay outside because they would like had traumatic events in closed spaces. So to accommodate those two kind of patients in the same atmosphere and to make them feel comfortable is what like I would want to bring in through my design. And from the like research that I have done, PTSD centers usually they look like hospital buildings itself or like asylums, and that would definitely kind of scare these patients. And I want to give them something more like safe, and the most of the people feel safe in their own homes. So I thought like I would take traditional style architecture, that's the Guttu Mane of Mangalore, and bring those elements here so that they'll feel like they are kind of like at home and not like that they're getting treatment or feeling left out from the community. So that is why I've brought this factor in my design. And like the materials that I'm going to use are also going to be like Mangalore tiles, terracotta tiles, and like red oxide flooring, etc., to give that feel and that environment for the patients. The site that I've taken is in Siddhapura Bidadi, which is near Innovative Film City Road. So the reason why I've taken this is from the case studies that I have done. The sites for these centers have been placed in the outskirts of the city so that there is proximity to the city, and also few of the towns and districts nearby like Mandya, Mysore, even patients from there can come to this center for treatment. The concept again behind my center is to provide like proper light and ventilation and to bring like openness like feeling everywhere. So to have like the traditional courtyard systems, and also to have like outdoor interaction spaces, because if these patients like talk about their experiences, then that is also a type of like treatment for them to recover from their traumatic event. So and to use the traditional style of architecture to break free from like the typical rehab center style. Coming like to the site plan, this is a 13 acres land, ma'am, and I am currently proposing only like building 6, which is the activity block. This block is the one that has the treatment in it. So this block can be like used as a prototype in like the hospitals where PTSD patients need to be accommodated. So this block alone, like from the approximate calculation that I have done, it comes up to like 7 to 8 crores, ma'am, like for just the construction cost. And coming to the plan of this building, that's the activity building. This is the ground floor. So like this is like how we enter. This is a group discussion courtyard space that I have designed, and then I have the music room and the pottery like studio, a group an art studio, and a seminar hall like in the ground floor. This that you can see is actually a waterfall wall, because water is also used as an element for healing, and listening to water falling can actually calm your mind. So that is another like element in this building that would help the patients. Coming to the first floor, I have the indoor games room, the gym, and the physiotherapist office. So he or she will be treating the patients, and the treatment will be done like in the gym area. And the last floor, we have the Ayurveda massage room and the religious counseling room and library for them, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, actually, the whole idea of taking this PTSD
Yes,
list
ma'am.
and healing through architecture is very interesting. But one thing is, see, you know, you have this thing happening all across India. And you talked about Gujarat riots, you talked about pandemic, which is universal to all.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
you talked about Bhopal. So why? What I little have apprehension is why you have suddenly selected Guttu Mane, because see, if a person is from Bhopal, he will be more liking the place where I mean the typology of Bhopal, you know. So you could have actually abstracted from the context would change, then the even
Yes.
the way you have perceived the thing should change. Because if you have the same Guttumani typology, which is it may not work in all the. I mean, this may not work in Gujarat, or this may not
Yeah.
work in Bhopal. It may work in Karnataka because
Karnataka.
people are more friendly with the kind of environment they have lived in. So
Yes,
you know
ma'am.
what? Instead of picking a particular typology, you have to mainly abstract typology, an abstract which could be prototyped in various contexts.
Context.
That is
Yes.
one, yeah. And
Yes, ma'am.
even you know, role of color, role of light, role of nature is huge. You could
Yes,
have
ma'am.
studied the Panchamahabhutas also. You know how they really heal through listening to birds, how they really heal through listening to water, how they really heal through being in the midst of trees. Role of nature is because you are trying to assume that being inside will be secure for them, but sometimes they may
Yeah.
be feeling sick because that it has to be depicted by the study. Sometimes they may be feeling secure if they are under the grove of trees.
Cheese.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so and I think it should have had little more study towards those things also. And you could have it should be a thing which is contextually change. You know, we cannot
Yeah,
adopt
yeah.
a particular typology and expect the from other region the people will be
Same.
more friendly with that typology.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
this is my apprehension. Otherwise, the topic selection is good actually, but you have made a decision very fast to just adopt a traditional typology, and then
Type.
you have tried to fit your areas in within that traditional typology.
Yes, ma'am.
You could have looked at various typologies, the kind of typologies in Gujarat, pole typology is there, the kind of typology which is there in Bhopal, the kind of typology which is there in Karnataka, and then try to abstract elements from those typologies and make a prototype. You
Yes,
got my
ma'am.
point?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And also work more on role of color in creating a what do you say, security, or role of nature in creating a security, role of light in creating a security. So those elements could also have been thought of.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes immediate decisions, then we get stuck with them and we try to fit everything in there.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, fine.
Thank you, Nishita madam, for the suggestions that you have provided. Now, anybody else has any
Thank you, ma'am.
questions for her? Nalini?
No, we are good.
Soumya?
No, ma'am. Actually, I think she has brought about these characters in the master plan. No openness, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Like the gardens and all like stuff, but I focused only on like this building because the entire site, like the construction, like the cost also like will like go up.
Yeah. So she
No,
is
no,
trying
my
to
only
show
concern
one
was that
type.
don't fix on a particular typology. Look
Typology, yes,
uh,
ma'am.
you look at
Yeah.
typology based on various regions and then abstract from that and create a prototype,
Great.
which
Yes,
will be
ma'am.
okay in all the regions.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I've abstracted elements from the various typologies of those particular regions, you know.
Regions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point that you should look into.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all, ma'am.
So, thank you, Revati.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Dr. Gayatri, please suggest the next person.
Yeah, Sujit can go ahead.
Sure, ma'am.
Sujit, you introduce yourself and then start.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sujit from HMB Planning, and my topic, my thesis topic is resilience, urban governance, and management. Resilience in terms of adaptation, innovation, and responsive towards the challenges. This is my introduction part of my topic. First, when it comes to what is city resilience, what is city resilience? By the definition given by the Under Resilient Cities, it is a capacity of an individual, community, institution within a city to survive, adapt, and grow no matter what kind of chronic stress or shocks experienced by the city. It is about making the city better, both in terms of short and long term. When we see how resilience is our particular municipal area or our particular local governance, when you see how resilience is our Bengaluru towards these challenges. When you see the Bengaluru, the city is not much, we have a not much threat towards the chronic shocks, that is natural disasters. But while we experience, frequently we'll experience some of the major issues like traffic congestion and also the poor municipal solid waste management, water scarcity and pollutions. And also the last 2 years we have experienced some of the gaps in our health sectors. When we see the last two previous situations like COVID crisis, this COVID crisis highlighted the number of issues in our urban system. Like urban area has become one of the epicenter of pandemic, and this COVID situation highlights the critical role of a particular municipal area in order to address this crisis, as they are the frontline responders towards the addressing this type of challenges. When we see the last two previous years, we have seen various crises, not only in health sector. From the health sector, we have seen the gaps in various other sectors like urban equity, urban finance, safety, poverty, job losses, and various lack in service and infrastructure. We have seen bed shortage, and we also seen the shortage in ambulance service, and also we have seen the queue in crematorium. Also, we have seen lack of space in the burial grounds. These are some of the challenges faced by the Bengaluru as present scenario. And my aim is to bring highly responsive resilience governance for the safe, protected, built urban environment. And the scope of my study is to analyze the urban governance resilience. By most specifically, it starts to analyze the interrelationship between the good governance approach interrelated with the urban resilience. Finally, I'm considering the good governance as the one of the tool to enhance the urban resilience. And my objectives of my study is to bring a decentralized approach in our municipal governance, and also to strengthen the present good governance practices, and also to involve the coordination and collaboration with the various parastatal bodies, and also to create an environment where the citizen and the government co-build the resilience approach. And this is the evolution chart of BBMP, which have been took 1995 to the present scenario. In 1995, there was a municipal administration with the name of Bengaluru Mahanagara Palike. And then in 2007, BBMP was formed with the amalgamation of 7 CMCs, 1 TMC, and 110 villages. When we compare to the present scenario, there's a various disadvantages or some of the loopholes in the BBMP structuring. When we see the previous part, the 2017 amalgamation was formed based on the 2011 census, where the 2001 census was with a population of 5.7 million. When we compare it to the 2011, it is a population of 8.5 million. When we see the decadal change, the population grew by 44%. And also when we compare to the present 2020 scenario, we have an almost 2 times the population and the 3 times the area of a BBMP. Due to this, the government came up with the forming a committee called as expert committee in order to restructure the BBMP to address these challenges. Therefore, the expert committee came up with a proposal of Greater Bengaluru Governance Bill. This was a proposal in order to bring the structural change in the BBMP structure. This is the some of the salient features of Greater Bengaluru Governance Bill. Some of the salient features are like to bring the decentralized approach and also to bring out the community participation and to focus on political accountability in civic agencies and to improve the transparency in the governance. Some of the recommendations which given by this bill was to this bill acts as an guidance for the future expansion of the BBMP, and also they come up with the proposal of 3-tier governance structure, that is Greater Bengaluru Authority as one of the top tier, and then the intermediate one is municipal corporation. They come up with the multiple municipal corporation as a proposal, and then that the bottom level is the ward level governance. When the bill was passed in 2018 under the Legislative Assembly, the BJP government under at the time Deputy Chief Minister was G. Parameshwar. This bill was rejected by giving some of the reasons, like it creates a revenue imbalance in our governance approach, where he clearly gave a statement like if the BBMP is divided into the 5 municipal corporations, where the corporation with the presence of IT sectors or the commercial areas will generate high level of revenue when we compare to the other corporation which doesn't have an advantages of IT sector. This will create an revenue imbalance, and also it suffers in the development. And then in 2020 they came up with a new bill just by expanding the present area by the expanded ward area from 198 to 243, and also they expanded the zonal level at 8 zone to 15 zone. And when I see the urban resilience as my topic, in terms of urban resilience, the unplanned expansion is the root cause of the urban resilience challenge. Without considering the current grassroots level challenge, the expansion doesn't address these issues which we are facing at present. In order to delineate my scope of my topic, where I'm going to focus on bottom level approach, that is ward level governance, where I'm focusing on strengthening the ward governance and administration. Ward at the lowest level of interface between the citizen and the ward administration, where we say that governance becomes good when the decision and action of a government is based on the people consent. I'm going to bring the bottom-up approach. And then the unique part of this thesis is my topic is not dealing with the solutions and strategies to the challenges, but my topic aims to bring out the resilience approach, how responsive or how effective, and how our municipal bounce back to the particular challenges. And also we have seen the good governance index at state level to assess the status of governance. Why can't we can see this as an ward level? Why can't we introduce the good governance at ward level? See how important is that good governance lay the foundation of the building in order to build trust between both the citizen and the government, in order to bring the resilience governance approach. When it comes to the funding part, as I said, my study is based on the policy level proposals, and also to bring some of the structural change or the conceptual governance proposal models. In terms of funding, where it will be helpful in order to reach my study for the particular representative local governance. When it comes to the local level proposals, where I can focus on a capacity building program, which boosts the skill level or knowledge or the both behavioral updates of the staffs of a government, and also which I can focus on ward committee development at a scale of an ward, and also I can introduce some of the public participatory program. The whole funding structure will be 2 lakhs for when we take a scale of an ward level. Thank you. Hello.
Your statement was that good governance is a tool for enhancing urban resilience.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
do you think through your study you have been able to understand that at the ward level this has been achieved?
Yes, ma'am. As you
That
told,
is one question. And another, what are the programs which you are doing for capacity building? And one more thing you were told, 3 things you were told. What are the programs towards capacity building?
The
And
first.
public participatory programs. I really want to know.
The first thing which you told about the public participatory at the ward level, we have seen public.
No, first question is, do you think that good? Yeah, your statement started with that good governance is a tool for enhancing urban resilience. Do you think to your study it has been achieved at the ward level?
Yes, ma'am. As you
How?
told, we have seen.
Yeah, that is my first question. And then what are the programs which you are proposing towards capacity building and towards public participation? So that will be able to help me to judge whether it has been done, urban resilience has been achieved by good governance.
Okay, ma'am. The first question is, we have seen the various public participatory under ward level. There's various ladders in the public participation. We have seen public participation at the sharing of information, public participation at the involvement of citizen in the planning, and also the public participatory is a stage where the citizen is involved in the making decision process. This is the ladder of public participation, where we have only seen the public participation as sharing information and also by both one, but we have not seen the level of where the public are involved in making the decisions for their own municipal area. And then for the second one is a capacity building program.
Are the public involved in making decisions in their own municipal areas?
No, ma'am. At present, we have not seen that stage where the public is involved in making the decision level.
Okay.
And for the second one, the capacity building.
Can resilience be achieved by without involving the public in participation?
Resilience in terms of, I'm talking about resilience in the governance part. Yes, by taking all the good governance like accountability, transparency, and public participation, we can easily achieve the resilience, good governance.
Resilience can be achieved when there is equal participation from both the sides, isn't it? The public as well as the governments.
Yes, ma'am. When I say the good governance approach, both I can consider the participatory level and also the accountability in the civic staff and also the transparency between the both government body and the civic body.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the second question is about the capacity building program. We have seen various capacity program like updating the skills and also the updating the knowledge level and also the updating the behavioral part of the municipal staff.
What are the kind of programs which are done for updation?
The
skills and the knowledge levels, etc.
I'm not still I'm not into the some of the programs of capacity building. I've just introduced the capacity program. The detailed part I have not still worked on it.
Okay. Because once you know what are the kind of programs, then only you can understand if then only you can judge, whether resilience there'll be resilience. So because it has to be equal from the governance as well as from the public side.
Yes, ma'am.
So that will also be judged by the kind of programs which you are proposing for capacity building.
I've just introduced the concept for proposal. I'm not.
Yeah, you just introduced the strategies. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. What's your name?
Sujit, ma'am.
Anybody else? Any questions?
Sujit, Sujit, do you have some good examples of, at least in our country or outside, where the governance helped in, quickly getting back to normalcy when such a disaster or something happened?
Yes, ma'am. The recent coalition which I told, the Mumbai governance came up with a name called one, with a name called Ward Decentralized Track and Emergency Responsive. This was an immediate committee formed by the Mumbai governance, where the resilience approach which was seen for the emergency responses. These are some of the responses which was done by the other governance. And also the both Delhi and Mumbai governance has multi-level corporation system, which is not seen in our Bangalore governance.
Right.
As some case studies which are not included.
Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you.
Architecture, who is going to be presenting, Nandini madam?
Yeah, Sneha,
Yes, ma'am. I'll
can you present?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
start presentation.
Um, okay. So good morning, teachers. I'm Sneha Kripa TS, and I'm a 10th semester student. And this is my project. It's a Center for Rescue, Relief, and Recuperation, and I'm looking into Karnataka. Okay. So, as architecture students, or being in the profession, we know that we actually have a space definition for everything. But do we really have a space definition exclusively for disaster management? I really don't think so. We do. So when we even look into disaster management, we know that there is no proper consideration with regard to like climatic conditions, local material skills, cultural and social issues, delays, cost constraints, and poor selection of shelters, which leads to poor performance and standard of living, which actually has completely proved that we really need to make advancements towards disaster management and many other aspects. So currently, India is one of the most disaster hit countries in the world, and 60% of India is prone to earthquake and 8% to floods, and 68% of India is actually prone to drought. So India is a multi-hazard disaster hit country, and this is a map which shows the multi-hazard zones of India. This is a timeline of disasters of India which has happened, like all the man-made and the natural disasters throughout the years. So, what is relief, refuge, and recuperation? So, basically, most of the time, people really get hit by disasters, and they're just given a shelter or just given just temporary relief in terms of a government school or something of that sort, and just leave them there. But most of the time, we really don't follow up on the recuperation part, or also even we really don't know even if if the whole situation is effective. So if you really do create a relief, refuge, and recuperation center, which can actually be in one place, the administration and the to provide relief and especially also to mitigate losses during the disaster makes it more easy. So this is the analytical mood board where I studied about the disaster phases, and we understand that preparedness and response, mitigation, recovery is very important. And most of the time, we fall short in preparedness phase itself because most of the time, we're not really prepared for disasters. And this is a disaster management hierarchy of India. We have NDMAs, SDMAs, and then we have the DDMAs. So I'm concentrating more on the community level of disaster management, which will be more direct and accessible to the masses. So that's how I came up with a response and relief or recovery and rehabilitation center, which I think is very important for in terms of disaster. So disaster management administration of Karnataka. So this is the present map showing the how disasters are administered throughout Karnataka. We know that we have SDRF teams, NDRF teams. We also have an SDMA and also like a Karnataka State National Disaster Monitoring Center, where they monitor the levels of national disaster so that they prepare themselves for the future. And this is the update. So one of those, so there are some disaster prone districts in Karnataka, and one of them is Dakshin Kannada district, where we have Mangalore and um, Mangalore, which is one of the most vulnerable ones. So this is the objectives of the district DDMA, and this is the total population of Karnataka, Dakshin Kannada district, and I've identified all of that, and we have 5 taluks, and this is the district vulnerability. We understand that it has a high impact, low frequency vulnerability, and this is the seasonality disaster chart, which I got from the net for this. And yeah, one other thing important thing which I identified was that there's an NDRF team in Bangalore, stationed in Bangalore. There's only 12 of them throughout the country, and one of them is stationed in Bangalore. Again, proving the importance of actually having a good disaster management system in Dakshin Kannada. So this is my overall this is my overall thesis topic, which actually is to create a DDMA where there's a rescue, refuge, and recuperation, so that it works in tandem with the national and state disaster relief forces of India to create a better prototype design program, and mitigate disaster losses, and have a better recovery phase during disasters. Out of this is our considerations which I've given for the site selection, like it should be 10 kilometers away from the disaster zone, and then it should be like at a 5-meter radii. There should be a hospital, full-fledged hospital, and many aspects. And this is a requirement and facilities. The administrative training, refuge, recuperation. We even have deployment grounds and like generators and all that. Out of which I'm actually concentrating on the campsite and disaster relief shelter, which I think is a very unique aspect of my design, and I think it's a much more it's much more in the need of the hour than a complete facility right now. So this is a materials and techniques which I studied considering the disaster situation of Karnataka, and I understood that it's a zone 2 and zone 3 earthquake. So then I understood, okay, these are materials I can use like adobe bricks, reinforced concrete, or ferro cement, and these are the highest standards. And this is flood. For flood, there's this really interesting technique called wet flood proofing, which I think should be really utilized in disaster management. It's basically having the basement completely hollow so that all the flood water gets collected there. You can even use that water in the future in case of drought. So it's a very advantageous technique. And cyclones, I even understood, like studied about what kind of buildings or structures will be important for cyclones, and it was like symmetrical forms are much more better and than very asymmetrical forms, which can actually create weak spots. Landslides. So landslides again is one of the most prominent disasters in Karnataka, and we can actually use certain plants which will actually stop from the erosion of the topsoil, and also we can even use permanent barriers like levees, which will actually stop the water from coming into the land and actually eroding the topsoil. So in drought again is another situation, like wet flood proofing is one of them, and then we can have retrofit fittings, and even rainwater harvesting systems are all very important when it comes to drought. So this is one of the basic shapes and forms which I was looking into, like when designing, and it was like domes and cylinders. Cylinders, why? Because the forces can be dispersed throughout the whole shape, and domes also very effective, and they're known to be resilient even towards like tornadoes, hurricanes, and typhoons and other disaster. So this was actually my basic site is stationed in Bihar, because I have a really elaborate site as justification for that. I'm just like trying to tell that the design program even works for like in case of like Karnataka, and this is what I did. Like, so this is like how I designed my site like in Bihar, and this is the identified campsite area, and this is where I'm going to be placing like the disaster relief shelter. So for my disaster relief shelter, these are the case studies which I did, which is like Able Nook, which is a very interesting modular design. So it had like it has these aspects like under 2-hour assembly, fully insulated, no tools, integrated electrical, flat packable, adjust to terrain, expandable, and it has infinite uses, and it's even easy to assemble. And this, you can also see in these drawings that it's actually modular horizontally and vertically, like you can actually expand it according to the requirement. So now I went through more texts about these these kind of structures can be easily assembled, and then I looked into Dymaxion, which is actually a Buckminster Fuller's idea. And I was thinking, why can't we use it as an inspiration for disaster shelter? Was one of my aspects. And you mean Dymaxion actually means dynamic, and max means maximum, and ion means tension. So while studying that, I understood that okay, steel, which they've used for Dymaxion, is a great material for disaster resistant, and they even use like wall boards and very light material for the interiors, which actually makes it also not only sustainable but also um, um, good for construction. And the structure is also collapsible and it can be expanded horizontally. And this is the present day cost of the Dymaxion, which is 40,000 USD, which converts to 30 lakhs INR. And if you really to come up with more material studies, we can even bring it down to much lesser. So this is again the other aspects of the Dymaxion. You can see towards the right image, you can see that the service core comes in between. Like they have a spiral staircase which goes around throughout the building. So that service core actually is the most important support. So having a spiral staircase go through that makes it even more stronger and much more durable. And it also has tension wires, which gives extra support. So the design. So this is like with the inspiration of Abelnook and Dymaxion, I thought a creation of a highly effective disaster shelter is possible. So with effective material structural analysis and cost management, we can build a very highly user friendly structure, especially during disaster. So my aim was to create a collapsible and retractable disaster resistant structure during times of disaster. The structure will be easily constructed on site and can be carried around. And the objective is like disaster management presently requires a lot of efficiency and preparedness. An efficient disaster relief structure can help achieve that and mitigate losses. The structure can be moved around and can fit according to the changing situation. It is a temporary structure and can have multiple uses depending upon the need. It is also COVID-19 friendly. And limitations also, it is a prototype design and the design needs to be reworked in scale of situation with also keeping the availability of resources. And transportation also is a very important key factor in this. So I went through an initial design. I created like, okay, what were basic amenities would actually be something like to have beds, to have a washroom space, and to have a very basic storage or a locker spaces for people to just keep their very important belongings. And permutations and combinations of this can also be created according to the population need and the disaster-prone vulnerability of the place. So you can see, I've created a service core in between, and then there's like dorms and bunk beds like on the side, and then there's a washroom situation there. So that's another service core. And looking at structural evaluation, so I was looking into retractable structures, which would actually, especially manual retractable structures, which should actually be used for the situation and so that can be easily assembled, and circular moment overlapping roofs, and then pivoted systems, side roofs, and tension ropes for extra support and durability. So the materials which I identified was like steel columns. Steel was very important, and corrugated steel sheets also are really good because not only is it good for circular surface, but since it's corrugated, it also doesn't really bend that easily. Wall boards to act as interior spaces, and then there's like then we have like polycarbonate also, which is also a very important material, and tension wires. Oh no.
Neha, can you make it full screen?
Yes, ma'am. I think it just stopped there. Just a minute, ma'am. Minute. Hello.
What happens, Neha?
There's a small problem, ma'am. Just a minute.
Yeah, what's it?
Nothing, ma'am. So, no, ma'am. I think There's a slide missing, but I think it's fine. I'll just. Uh, yes, ma'am. So the thing is, polycarbonate is also known to be disaster resistant, and it's also, especially polycarbonate, is also known for like its resistance towards like earthquakes, earthquake resistant, cyclone resistant, and at the same time, even steel is also known for its resistance, and it also has good control and quality and tensile strength. So using these materials is what I was thinking about using, and just one slide missing. It's just not there. So the cost of this, I had a costing estimation, ma'am, and the cost of it is around 30 lakhs for a good, especially considering Karnataka rate, 1,300 per square feet. Yeah. Hello.
Go ahead, Sneha.
Is some,
Yes.
go
ma'am.
ahead. Is there some slide missing or something?
Yes, ma'am. It was there. I don't know. It's not there. So I think I'm done now.
You go ahead now.
So you can go forward.
Probably,
Yeah.
you go forward. If you find that slide after the everybody's presentation, you can just put it up.
Okay, ma'am. Right now, but I've
No,
already
don't get
explained.
panicked. Don't get
No.
panicked. Nothing is going to happen. You just present it fully. And if you find that particular slide which you are missing, you can put it up in the last when everybody's is done. Is that okay, Nishita madam?
Yes, yes, perfectly okay, ma'am. Let her not panic. Let her not panic.
No, ma'am. I'm
Yeah,
not panicking.
don't get
I think I've explained
panic.
most of it.
No.
I've explained most of it. It's just that there's one small estimation slide, but it's the same thing. It's the estimate is around 30 lakhs, ma'am. But I've explained everything. It's like almost all.
So you have broken up the estimation, is it?
Yes,
You have given the breakup of the estimation.
I've given an overall estimate, ma'am. Complete breakup, I can give, ma'am. It's more
Okay.
detailed.
You go ahead. Don't worry. You must finish, and later on you can find that slide.
No, yes, ma'am. I think I'm done for now, ma'am. So, is there any questions or anything?
Yeah, only one question. You explained all the disasters
Sorry, ma'am.
with
I can't
respect
hear
to
you.
Karnataka, and then suddenly you have chosen your site in Bihar. So that was the only apprehension I have. Otherwise, it's a noble cause of having Center for Rescue, Relief, and Recuperation, because that is usually required. And in India, usually we never have this, and we start looking at things after the disaster happens, and it takes really a toll of the people who have suffered the disaster. Okay, so we have seen different kinds of disasters, floods, which happened last year in Maharashtra. We have seen cyclones. We have seen so many things, tsunamis and all that. So this is actually the aim and objective of the topic is very good. But then only my apprehension was that you explained everything with respect to Karnataka and suddenly shifted your side to Bihar. So that is my
Yes,
only
ma'am.
apprehension. Or you could have explained, taken your site in Karnataka itself, because you have talked about all the
Yes, ma'am.
disasters of Karnataka, isn't it? Or
Yes,
you
ma'am.
had to explain of Bihar, and because criteria for site selection is very important.
Yes,
When
ma'am.
you, especially for this, it's very important.
Yes, ma'am. So,
So that's my
I'll
only
take.
question you have. And
Yes,
also
ma'am.
about the estimate, I thought, the kind of material, the kind of structure which you use and the materials you use, it will be, I mean, is it compatible for disaster management? I
Yes,
mean,
ma'am.
the expenses will be huge. Have you made any
Which?
study or what kind of structures are ideal for disaster management in terms
Yes,
of the
ma'am.
funding? I mean, the estimate part also.
Yes, ma'am. That's what, ma'am. When I looked at like materials like Dymaxion, when I was looking into all that,
And
it did come
can
at
your
30
structure
lakhs.
be prototyped across various disasters? That is also another question.
Yes, ma'am. So yes, ma'am. Let me answer your first question first. So you said I moved to Bihar. So my thesis was basically I chose the site in Bihar because it is a much more completely multi-hazard zone compared to like Karnataka. That's why
Yeah,
I
so
had
you
chose
have to
Bihar.
explain the hazards of Bihar,
Yes,
because it
ma'am.
becomes very non-contextual when you explain the hazard of one zone and suddenly shift it some. When you
No,
knew
ma'am.
that you want to do it for
Yes, ma'am.
Bihar because it is a multi-hazard zone, you could have
Yes, ma'am.
explained all the hazards of that particular region only.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
then
But the thing is, the whole program of having refuge and rescue recuperation center, ma'am. I chose Bihar because it had multi-hazard zone. But the thing was, the design program was also a prototype, and not only that, the vision was also very important. Was that such a center should actually be which can be used throughout India. It should be something which can be used throughout India by changing only the context of its, obviously the climate changes and all that, and the
yeah, because the
disaster
climates will change,
vulnerability.
isn't it? That is
Yes, ma'am. It's
yeah.
not. Yes, ma'am. So the climate, according to the climate, but then the program of having a rescue, refuge, and recuperation is very important, like especially for the administrative purposes and to make it easier to, like, in case of disasters. I think that was the whole ideology why it was. I was still able to explain for Karnataka also. If you actually notice, I use the same thing. I just picked up a district and I studied the district analysis of it, and then I use the same aim and objective of my Bihar study into Karnataka. So this is what I was trying to tell, is that the program is something which is required throughout the country for, like, all the states, and it's not just like, it's not very definitive. So the program is important, but yes, but then we have to really build it according to the climatic conditions and the requirements of the state, like the
No, no,
vulnerability
program is
index of the
important,
state.
but sometimes it will vary. See, if you see Orissa, it's highly prone to disasters. Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
these are sites which we need to really look at, those sites which are highly hazards prone to hazards and disasters. And whereas maybe if you see Odisha and if you compare Karnataka, the kind of disasters may not be equal.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
what I'm
No,
saying is that
yes, I get it.
you cannot explain for one region and suddenly pick up a site for other region, because the level of disasters or the intensity of disasters for that particular region may be much higher,
Yes, ma'am.
and also
Yes, ma'am.
climatically it will change.
Yes, ma'am. So I've done the climate study for that, ma'am. If you notice, like, I've really said that, okay, this is an earth. I've noticed that. So for Bihar, it'll be much more. It'll be different. The earthquake zone will be different for Bihar, but then for Karnataka, it's zone 2 and zone 3.
No,
So
you have to be consistent in that study, and also choose site appropriate to that your particular study, and then propose it. And then also the thing is, can it be prototype? So that's how it will change if it is prototype. I mean, climatically
yes, ma'am,
only
it's
it
a
will change,
prototype.
but otherwise the structure will remain the same. I mean, so the
No, ma'am. No,
materials.
it's a prototype, ma'am. Like, the whole situation. Obviously, I can't say the building also can exactly be a prototype. It's just the whole
Approach
ideology.
can be approach or ideology
Yes,
can be
ma'am.
prototype.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I'm talking about. That's the reason why I was able to, like, even, like, explain for Karnataka
The
also, because I know
programs
the
will be
idea.
similar maybe, but again
Yes, ma'am.
it depends on the
I can.
intensity of the hazard.
Yes, ma'am. So the reasons. Yes, ma'am. So I was looking in. So because it's for the situation, I actually chose Karnataka, and I actually did a district analysis for Karnataka, and I can even choose a site also for Karnataka and actually implement it also. So. It's just that my ideology is the same, but I'm just using the approach for Karnataka. So I know I can, like, make it work for Karnataka.
So
By
maybe Neha, here you should explain that you have worked for a complete center in the Bihar state,
yes, ma'am.
okay, which is like a live project, but you have taken a particular component of the entire campus, that is the campsite, and you are showing it for Karnataka. Maybe that will make things clear for everybody.
Yes, ma'am. Actually,
You understand?
that's the part, ma'am. The component of disaster shelter is actually more universal compared to the climatic conditions.
So if you can show her the 27, slide number 27.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so this is like the end. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So this is like the entire center, ma'am. This is like the entire center, ma'am. But you can see this campsite area. This is the area where people can have disaster shelters. So they're gonna, like, build a disaster shelter there, and as a temporary structure. And when the disaster is done, they will go. They can, like, put it back in the center itself.
It's a
So that's the whole.
collapsible structure.
Yeah, it's a collapsible structure which can be put back in the center itself. So, um, so so that structure can actually even be used in, even, like, situation in Karnataka, or even in a situation in another state too. So so that's why that's what I've explained in my study for um, like like from here. So
Okay.
so that's how I've explained my study, ma'am. So through these case studies, and through like finding inspirations for how to like actually make a very effective disaster shelter for the situation is what I was looking into this one.
Can you not camouflage with your landscape of the surrounding area?
Yes, sir, we can. But
That would be an advantage, because if these things can be seen through aerial photography also, and through the Google Map. I was told in Bangalore they have these underground shelters. We don't know where it is, near HAL. So similarly, if it can be camouflaged with your landscape, then that another
yes,
additional safety can be added.
true, sir. I had that idea already. So I was thinking even in situations like okay, when the
Hello.
Ladakh. Hello, sir, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me, sir? Hello. So even I had the same idea, sir. So initially, and so I was thinking in cases like this situation of war or extra safety, we can actually use mirrors for on the facade. Like we can use even mirrors to actually like deflect the whole situation, so it will be camouflaged to the site area. So that way you don't have to do anything extra. So it will actually camouflage. We use mirrors.
Okay.
Okay, Sneha. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, teachers. Thank you, teachers.
Thank
I
you.
hope they.
Thank you, Sneha.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Now next, Gayatri Madam, please tell your team, whoever is the member.
Yeah. Saujanya, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
She's a planning student, no? No?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, she's a planning student.
I hope my screen is visible. Greetings to all. I'm Saujanya from.
Just 1 minute, Saujanya. Nishita Madam, I'm introducing you to architect Vidyadhar Vodiyar, who has joined us. He's the studio head and design chair, everything in our college.
Okay. Yeah. Nice meeting you.
Nice. Thank you for the introduction, madam. Sorry for joining little late.
Oh, that's okay. But now you're there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Greetings to all. My name is Saujanya. I'm from 8th semester B planning. My thesis is on how can we restore the urban lakes, and that is in the case of Bengaluru. So first, I would rightly start with quoting a Constitution of India, Article of 51A, that it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, including the forests, lake, rivers, and wildlife. And we have to have the compassion for the living creatures. So when we talk about lakes being the most important part of the urban ecosystem, they might be small or large in their area, but they perform a significant environmental, social, and economic functions that is ranging from being a source of drinking water for the domestic purpose, recharging the groundwater, acting as the sponge for the controlling the floods, and also supporting the biodiversity and providing the livelihoods. And at present in India, lakes and wetlands are in extremely bad shape and are in varying degrees of environmental degradation. Despite we know that they are environmentally, socially, and economically very significant, but we as a city planner, somewhere in the end, we neglect and we also hold up the hands for these destroying these water bodies. So today these water bodies are encroached and they are full of sewerage and garbage. So although there has been a plethora of policies, like India has a lineup of policies that states for the restoration and for the conservation of urban lakes and acts for the protection. the urban water bodies are in extremely poor condition. Though they have lakes, though they have policies and laws, we are not abiding it. So there are number of declining. The number of declining in urban lakes is very much more. For example, at beginning in Bengaluru only in 1960s, we had about 262 lakes, and now only 10 can hold water, and others are filled with sewage and garbage. So, context of talking about urban lakes in Bengaluru, in Karnataka, it was once a city of lakes where most of the lakes are artificial and few we also have natural lakes. And these were also known as tanks that were built and maintained under the patronage of rulers over many centuries. Like the Hoysalas, the Wadiyars, the Kempegowda, and the Tippu Sultan were all the patrons of these lakes. Around 1,792 lakes existed. There in 500 years ago, that was built by the city's founder, and in 1960s it decreased to 280 lakes, and then an estimation of only 72 lakes remain in Bengaluru today. So lakes that were lost is all from the development and the surrounding commercial or the household encroachment. There is a great loss for the cities, like because cities help in recharging the groundwater supplies, which is very useful for the source of drinking water, and it also reduces the air temperature, and we also can have a balanced climate in the entire city area or the core area, and it also provides a habitat for the wildlife and also the vegetations like fishes, birds, and etc. The evolution of tank system in Bengaluru. So chronologically, the evolution of tank system in Bengaluru can be classified as the following. That is the pre-colonial period, the colonial period, the pre-independence period, and the post-independence period. If we see through the master plan, if we analyze, there is an increase of number of lakes and tanks. But at the same time, while one get increased and the one is always deteriorating. If we look at the colonial period, in 1873, a string of 3 lakes in a huge area, which is known as the Miller's Tank, was erected as the primary source for the piped water to cater to the containment zone along with the Ulsur Lake that was developed in the pre-colonial period only. But later on, in the pre-independence period, the Hesarghatta Reservoir was completely dried up that was built in the colonial period. Like if we see one rising and one is almost declining. So that has to be catered. So that's when the post-independence period, the BWSSB was set up in 1974, where they were dependent upon the Kaveri river water as the source of tap water for the entire city. What is happening now? Initially, right now, the land use along the valleys and ridges, they sought to protect the watershed zones with the location of the institutions, parks, gardens, etc. along their edges. But later, the tank beds were encroached upon the houses to house the transportation terminals. Like, for example, I would tell the Majestic that is being built, a Majestic bus terminal that is being built on the Dharma Buddhi tank. And also the residential layouts, educational institutions, sports stadium, complexes, many. But now there has been several measures taken by the government and authorities to conserve these sensitive layers which structures the city. Right here in the table in the right side, it shows the name of the tank that was there before and what it is being encroached now, the present land use that it caters to. For example, if we see the Sunkal tank that is in Shantinagar is currently the Shantinagar bus stop, the bus terminal area. So like this, there are been encroachment more of these tanks and water bodies that have been evolved from the start of the city. So that is where I would like to talk about. So my aim is to develop a means of restoration of these valuable lakes and to also investigate how can it add to the community benefits that they provide in the urban area. So I would start up by learning how, by evaluating the spatio-temporal changes of the urban lakes, that is through GIS. And next, I would like to interconnect the analysis of the drainage network of the entire city to assess the extent of loss in the Bengaluru urban district due to the anthropogenic stress and its impact. And later, to also assess the status of water bodies in Bengaluru by analyzing the physiochemical characteristics of the selected water body, that is the pilot water body that I would select and do my thesis on in Bengaluru. And the next one, to understand how the lake system will impact on the socio-economic development. And finally, I would also, the main part is to recommendation of a lake using innovative techniques that will sustain over the long run. Excuse me. The methodology is as I explained right now. So I would like to concentrate more on the urban lakes, moreover the man-made lakes, because man-made lakes, anytime they can be revived, but the natural lakes is the one that we have to put an eye on. So whatever conservation or restoration programs the government has taken up and the BBMP and the other allied organization have taken up, there is always a issue which has led to slow down the progress of these restorations of lakes. So we all know that Bengaluru holds a principle of the cascading system of tanks. That means it is interlinking. For example, when the lake 1, say suppose lake 1 and lake 2 are the examples, say lake 1 gets filled up, but they are connected with the streamline so that they don't over flood the surrounding area and they fill up the next lake. So that's how the Bengaluru is always being designed, and they work on the principle of cascading system. So any lake restoration project that have been started, it would start with the revenue survey of the lake, identification of the encroachment, demarcation of the encroachment, and finally eviction of the encroachment, which has to be done by the revenue department, since it's the preparatory of all the lakes west in the revenue department. But right now, the revenue department does not even involve a bit of it to contribute itself to the restorations of lakes process, because there is a number of other organization that comes into play. So that's where the regulatory framework for the organization structure or the governance structure should be followed. Like for example, next is the 81 lakes that falls under BDA control are affected by a huge sewerage flow, which has to be connected from the source to the main trunk sewer lines through a conduct which has to be taken up by the BWSSB on a priority. And next, then the majority of the lakes in the core areas of the cities are encroached, which has a huge number of habitants, wherein these rehabilitations of such encroachment has been not taken up. So that we have to look into. And excuse me. In majority of the lakes, the Raja Kaluways connecting to the lake transport the surplus water are non-existent, and which has led to the urban flooding, the loss of property and etc. So these Raja Kaluways have to be demarcated on the ground, the encroachments to be removed, and the earthen section of the Raja Kaluways has to be provided for the free flow. So my idea would include a holistic understanding and acknowledgement of a lake system that should be important part of a lake management plan. For example, under the lake restoration project, as I already told, the restoration of the catchments of a water body is often ignored or they are mismanaged, and most of the money and the efforts what they are spent on the beautification, and it's only on the temporary improvements of the water quality. So there is a strong need for the ecological orientation and development and appreciation of an ecosystem service among the urban managers. That's where the integrated restoration plan came up with. So this is a strategy the lake restoration program must involve. It involves activity to protect, to restore, to manipulate, and also to provide for the functions and values, emphasizing the quality and sustainable usage of the water resources. The first one, that is the integrated restoration plan, would involve two main major parts. That first one would be the catchment area development plan, and the second one would be lake area development plan. Here in the catchment area development plan, developing a tree belt or something that where people anthropogenic activities does not hinder the restoration of the lakes or hinder the activities that is happening in the lake. So that is where catchment area development plan looks into, where it involves developing a tree belt in the barren area of the catchment, check the soil erosion on and off, and sand dunes in the catchment area has to be stabilized by revegetation. Desilting of the lakes is the initial phase, may be taken up as the major activity for the restoration, while this has to be done periodically till the lake resumes its ecological integrity or the capacity that it can hold up to. Second one is the lake restoration development, lake area development. So in lake area development, it's all about a layout plan for the lake is to be designed, viewing both the recreational activities and maintaining the ecological integrity for the long-term restoration. While the peripheral area is to be restored, that is the catchment area. What we call as the peripheral area would be the catchment area. It would be restored through the eco-architectural plan, which will include the periodic removal of sediments and organic debris from littoral zones. This is the framework that I have come up to create one of the integrated restoration plan. First would be the catchment area, as I already told. The second one would be the sustainability. Sustainability is where we can create tourism and visitors for that, where we can also generate a revenue and run over a longer time. When it comes to water, we all know that sewerage water from the STP, that is after treatment, is led to the lakes. While there is when we have to hold a check on, while the treated water goes to the lakes and the waste what is there would be used as a fertilizer in the development of the catchment area plan. So for the water quality management, as I already told, we have our STPs and we have our lake. While the treated water goes to the lake, before there at some point of time, through the inlet from where it goes, we'll have to create one of the minute-to-minute real-time water management system. So this is a small device, something that gets the water quality management system, which will tell the physical and also the chemical components of the water. So before the water gets into the lake, we have the data like what kind of water quality goes into the lakes. So this is a minute-to-minute real-time monitoring system. So this will be a cloud-based one where the Karnataka State Pollution Control Board will be accessing it. And this will also be helpful for the kind of activity that the lake should possess. So that's one kind of idea. And the second one is encroachment monitoring. So how do we do this encroachment monitoring is through monthly Google mapping. So once we have either in the Lake Development Authority or by the BDA who caters to the maintenance and management of lakes, so they would like having like one of the master plan of the Bengaluru and overlay the Google map for every month, and then so that the encroachment part itself gets highlighted. So this is one what in US they have been doing it. So to identify the encroachment, so they have been doing it in the US like this. So these are my two main ideologies. And I would tell how innovative is my design is like, it's not only developing something new and original, it's all about taking what's already there and making it much more better. So that's where my idea would be like. And if funding is provided in the project, is it executable? Yes, the main reason for the slowdown process of the lake restoration works is the lack of adequate financial resources and also the lack of proper maintenance mechanism. My idea, what I've proposed right now, is oriented towards both. And the goals are also achievable because they are in real time and they are almost less cost because the device that we need to install is approximately 2 lakhs. Okay, so then it can be easily achieved. And how unique is my design? Unlike the previous attempted restoration works by the government, this idea would intend to achieve in less time, and also the outcome of the results also will be very easier. So, and it is more practical. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Saujanya, correct. You have included that superimpose which we discussed in the last meeting.
Yes.
Here it is in the UK, not USA. I am not sure about the USA. Maybe they are also doing it, but I mentioned that day it is UK.
Yes,
and
sir.
You have to mention that there will be a lake base map made, including the catchment area and restricted zones.
Yes,
so
sir.
You
Yes.
have to say in the base map it will be marked the catchment area, then the boundaries, everything will be in the base map for
Yes,
all
sir,
the
the
lakes
top-
of BAM. And once superimposed, you'll know where there is encroachment or any development. Okay, then you have to say in the end, this can be made for one city, Bangalore, but it can be replicated in other ULBs also.
Yes, sir. Yes, it can be. It can act as a prototype for the other
Other
urban development bodies also.
yeah, and it is, I am 100% sure it is done in UK, but you said US, I am not sure, because I that day I told you it is UK, but you today you said US, you have
Sir,
to confirm.
I found it even in UK and also in US because the
um,
first. Yes, sir.
you missed the UK, but anyway, UK and other developed countries, you can say.
Yes, yes, sir.
But if you want to say US, which you said, you have to confirm through Google.
Yes, yes, yeah. I'll do that, sir.
Okay, but to develop this software, you may need a little more money, so you can get it developed through the help of some experts. Hmm?
Yes, sir. When I talk about how do I implement or whose help I take to achieve all these things or the stakeholders, what we call. So we also have the biome solutions that is in Bengaluru that is keenly working on towards restorations of these lakes. So we can
Okay.
approach them, and also we have the Infosys Foundation that has been already. We have the success stories of the Infosys restorations of the lakes in Bengaluru itself. So we can
Yeah,
take
but
their help also. So
yeah,
that's
one more point which we discussed, you have missed, is that real time monitoring has to be included and controlled through the control room.
yes, sir. Yes,
Like,
I have
see, you
told that.
didn't mention that. You didn't mention that. Every, see, one small lakes may have one STP. Bigger lakes may have two, three at
Hmm,
two,
hmm.
three directions. So at every STP, there'll be an equipment which will monitor. So
Yes,
this monitors. This is controlled through like a similar way, like traffic control center, which is in Bangalore.
hmm.
Similarly, a lake control room has to be created so that they know the pollutants and their level of pollutants on a real time basis. So it can be sitting in the office, they can monitor what kind of water is going. If it is exceeding the level, so it can be checked at the that stage itself.
Yes, sir.
So that you have to mention, and
Okay.
this control room also you have to mention, and you have to have every lake will have one control station.
Yes,
Hmm?
yes, sir.
Okay, that you have missed. We had that is one more we had added in our scheme. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Saujanya, I first of all congratulate you because you have a very beautiful topic, and as everybody knows, lakes have environmental, social, economic significance, and as you have explained, the amount of lakes which were there were 262 lakes which have diminished to 10 now in Bengaluru region. But I have only one question about the catchment areas. Is this proposal for the lakes which are in intact position or the lakes which are already degraded? Because now many of the catchment areas are already encroached by a lot of development,
Yes,
so
sir. Yes, yes, sir. Yes,
this is
ma'am.
to stop further degradation of those, or is it for the new lakes which are left now, the
It is
proposal
to
what?
stop the further degradation of the what has happened already, ma'am.
Okay, because now some of the catchment areas, now perimeters of the lakes, almost half the perimeters are taken up by development.
Developers, exactly.
Yeah.
So we need to stop that. So that's why that's what
So
I
are
have
you
intended
giving
to.
proposal to further stop those the degradation of those catchment areas also, or are you giving only for the lakes which are intact now?
The lakes which are intact now.
Okay, fine.
Thank you, ma'am.
No, but you need not stop to that. You know, this monitoring at this STP level can be done for both the
It could be done for both,
lakes.
also the
Yeah,
lakes
it
which
could be.
are already degraded, you can stop
See,
further
the
degradation
traffic
for.
police control all the junctions. Similarly, all lakes can be controlled, whether they are new, man-made, or natural.
Okay, okay.
So that you monitoring system you are proposing for all.
Actually, there was a Ramsar convention which actually looks after the lakes, but I don't know how much is now is happening now in these areas. But what I suggest is you need not look at only lakes which are not degraded. You can you can stop further degradation of the lakes which are already whose perimeters are already taken over by a lot of development.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
that
got that.
it does not decrease further the
Okay.
perimeter of the lakes
Yeah.
because they are like flood sponges, you know.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
It's a huge disaster, and that is why flooding is being caused in places like Bangalore and all
Hmm.
because we have filled up all the lakes with development.
Exactly, ma'am.
Okay, but I found your topic very interesting, and there is consistency in your thought and the way you have approached it, and your proposal also. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for your valuable inputs. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sojanya. Now, Dhanuja, please start your
Yes, ma'am.
presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Introduce yourself and start. Dhanuja?
Yes, ma'am. 1 minute, ma'am. I'll share the screen.
Ma'am, this will be architecture now, no? This one? It's an architecture thesis, no, Dhanuja?
Yes, yes, it is architecture.
It is architecture, and we have sent one form, madam.
You have sent
I think you would have got it on your mail.
I'll just check it, ma'am. I'm noting it down, actually.
Ma'am, I hope my screen is
Okay.
visible.
Okay. ಅಲ್ಲ
Just one
PDF
second.
ಕಳಿಸ್ಲಾ
Just one second.
Yes, ma'am.
All the values here.
ಈಗ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್, ನಿಮಗೂ ಬಂದಿದೆ ನೋಡಿ.
All the values here have got one form. You would have received it from Soumya. That particular form has got 2 columns where it is you will have to grade them in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4 for architecture separate and planning separate.
Okay.
Okay. And another thing, Nishita madam, this is the first time in VTU we are having planning program. Generally, we always have M planning and all that, but we never had a B plan program. Only in our college we have started this program, and these students have been quite exposed to a very good set of planners. In fact, Wadia sir is associated with us for quite some time and guiding the students. And Dr. Gayatri is also the planner as well as an architect.
Yeah, okay. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dhanuja.
Okay, ma'am. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. This is Tanuja, and I'm 10th semester student from BARC. So the topic which I've chosen is Visarati Netrapata Kshetra, that is especially dedicated for blind people and the visually impaired ones. So what does it mean? Why have I chosen for this, and what is the field about? That is basically for the theater artists who are visually impaired. It might be partially blind, totally blind, or people who have lost their vision due to accidents or deficiencies after like for accidents in the sense they are the theater artists due to sudden accidents or the deficiency they get, they lose their vision, and after which they can't continue their talents or to showcase their talents. And because of this, it shouldn't be a gate. It shouldn't be a barrier for them to not to continue their talents, or they shouldn't stop themselves from there. That is the end. Then they shouldn't get the feeling of that they want to continue their learning of their course or the love towards their artworks. So the present scenario, talking about the value the artists have and their artworks, is very low when compared to the previous time. So in that situation, people who still have a confidence and eagerness towards their respective art course or work have no such platform specially designed to encourage these artists. On other side, due to unawareness of theaters in the present growing population, existing theaters are closing. Whereas talking about the workplace for these artists who take up that as the daily basis work, like for the living. So there are few places. There are no such places designed for these artists. So thus this project helps the artists to showcase their talents, representing the culture and also creating an awareness to the future. So talking in terms of designing, I thought of making a place which has the influence of the cultural and as well as the art form. So
what is the importance, or what are the designing considerations I have to look into for, especially for this visually impaired ones, are the standards about the structural design, the heights and the materials, and then talking about the movement, how they're going to moving along, and then the sensing of elements. So yeah, so these are the design elements which I came after. When I spoke to one of the, before that, I forgot to mention that there is no such dedicated theater schools or theater institutes, especially for visually abled ones in India. And then there are schools, that is, it's only about the blind schools where they give education till 12th standard, and respective people will take further if they want to continue in the education wise, or it's the cultural activities, whatever they're looking forward. And then, so talking back to the designing elements, except now, if, for example, if we have lost a sight, what are the other things which other part of the bodies which is accordingly sense and move along? So one would be the guidance to move for them, that is the texture, the touch, what we talk about. Touch, again, I thought we could play with the materials which are going to be placed on the surface of the walls or the corridors along the side. If you could see here, one of the school in abroad, blind school, where they along the corridors they've placed this textured material so that the student can touch and feel and then go according to their respective classrooms or their functional places. And then talking about another sense, that is the sound, playing with the volume of spaces. Again, talking about volume, they prefer when I spoke to one of the lecturer in Sri Ramana Maharshi School in Bangalore, he said it is comfortable for these blind people if it is only in ground plus one structure, ground plus one. So again, in ground plus one, we'll have to think. I had to think about playing with height in G plus one only, so that where if you play with heights, it creates an echo, and then from that sound, that would give an advantage of a person that visually impaired to get which place is right now, and to understand where is moving towards, and is it a classroom or is it a admin reception space or wherever it is. And then again, talking about the materials, sound absorbing, which materials are going to be used in the particular classrooms, and then flooring materials while the tapping or the standing or the movement. Three different art forms which have it could be like dance, music, or drama. Well, talking about the dance, it's about the tap they do, and the flooring materials comes into picture. Where if we talk about the drama movement, again, movement where again the materials will have to play. And then another sense design element which I've used is about the lightings. So according to the lecturer again, he said that it's difficult if we have large openings for these blind people, because it says that according to the science, the more excess of sunlight is very effective for their sights to look into. So they said it's better if they have clear story windows in all the structures. So, and then talking about another design element which I've worked on is the smell which we would create around the blocks, that is playing with the plants, and for example like eucalyptus trees in the gathering spaces, jasmine at the pathway, and then a few of the things, other set of plants according to the functional spaces to to get an idea of which place they're moving towards. And so this right side is the site plan which I've worked on. It's just the above part of the thing. The site is located in university, Bangalore University in Nagar Bhavi. So it has the influence of other two art forms as well, in case if it's a government land. And then we can give a proposal saying that there's no one theater school or the institute for these blind people and for the ones who have lost their vision due to accidents. So that would help them to achieve the dream, and then to get that to break down the social influence, social barrier, saying that they don't get an equal opportunity. It's just the education, and then just leave apart from learning and performing in one or two art forms. So I thought the prototype, or what could be executable, is one of the block. If you could see this is the one of the dance block which I'm showing right now. That is having the set of classroom around and giving in between breakdown the courtyard spaces which could give them the relaxing space. It's just because they can't see, it's all about the experience or the ambience you create for them. Instead of just playing with the designing elements, it shouldn't make them that they can't get to see, but instead other set of elements should make them their experiencing like the visually abled ones. So that's what I've created right now. The classrooms is right next to the courtyard spaces, and then it's not just consistent. They have to stick in that. It's like free flowing movement which I've created all around, and then the metal pipes which will be placed along the path. In case if it's going to be the whole campus, then the metal pipes would be placed along the pathway, so that if they can tap with the cane stick whatever they're going to use, and they can move along the pathway space. And according to whatever I spoke to the school people, they said it's just about the training they give, not about designing. They pick up the tools and they train them according to the situation. And
1 minute.
yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, sir,
See,
please.
don't make statements like that. It is not the training. It is also architect's role in material use. See, in the flooring, if you have a rough floor, they know they are in street number 1.
Yes,
If they
sir.
are in a smooth road, they know they are in street number 2.
Yes,
See,
sir.
these are all as architect's role. So you should not demand. You cannot say that nothing we can do. It is
No,
our
sir.
only.
Sorry.
Please, you made a statement. Don't make like that. See, it is the architect's role only. See, material use on the wall you had explained. That's correct. That's a very
Sir.
nice way they do it.
Can I?
Similar lines, flooring also. And one more point, you can need not justify. One more point is, I think our head of the department will also give their opinion. Most of the blind schools, they use soft corners. They don't have this sharp edges.
Yeah.
So that holds good for all the roof walls. They have to be curved, and they should not have interpreted walls like that. Intermediate wall, it should not cut, so they do not lose the continuity. So these are few things which I had learned as a student. So these curves wall also guide them. So similarly, the roads also have to be little curved, not 90 degrees thing. So please discuss with our head of the department before you finalize the scheme. Okay.
Yeah,
This is
as
my
sir said,
observation. Please discuss with our head of the department.
as sir rightly said, you should not make statements. Actually, it's a role of the architect to create environments, floor, wall, and all. And actually, organic forms sometimes help. Like instead of having very sharp corners or walls in between, organic, because they will tap with the stick, and then they will try to negotiate the corners unless they are helped by somebody. So
Ma'am?
sometimes if you have corners, it might be difficult for them to negotiate.
Ma'am, I meant according to the Sri Ramana Maharshi lecturer he said it was not about designing for them, not my role. I said Sri Ramana Maharshi, according to that lecturer, he meant it was not about designing for these people. In all the schools, it was just that they were training them according to the tools, whatever they were using, the cane stick, or while performing or moving towards the classrooms.
That need not be mentioned in our role, because we are justifying our role. So you need not
Yes, sir.
mention that. If he has said
Yes, sir.
also, if he has made some statement, it is his personal. But here, we as an architect, we are trying to give a solution. So don't make that statement at all. It is wrong, not yours. It is his personal opinion.
Yes, sir. According to whatever we discussed, I had to mention
No,
that
please
point.
don't argue. Don't
Oh,
mention
sorry, sir.
also.
Okay.
See, if you mention, then you'll have to give all this explanation. Don't mention at all.
Okay, sir.
If you are
And
convinced what he has said is wrong, don't mention it. There is no need. You go ahead with your design concept, your material use. You said material, you design, all is
yes, sir.
architect's role, and we are here to tell the role of an architect.
Yes, sir. But I didn't mention that he was wrong, sir. But they didn't have an option of designing, but they didn't come up with any designing elements as such.
No, but
He,
your role is designing, no? So don't
yes,
mention.
ma'am.
Actually, you should be convinced that what he has said is not really. I mean, you should not even mention that actually.
No, ma'am.
We are all talking about designing environments which are ideal for those people who are, I mean, they are blind or they have become blind because of some disaster.
Yes, ma'am. But I just wanted to share that it was one of the discussion. So yeah, ma'am. And talking about the walls, whichever sir said that it would be sharp. These are just the in between. You get those partition walls. I mean, like the temporary ones, the sliding ones, ma'am. Just you put just to show that it's defining a classroom. That is it. It's just a movable one. It's not a built walls in between here, whichever you can see it here. So it's not. It's just the outer
The
classroom
sliding
outline.
walls are not done in a blind school. Please see, by
So the screen
making
which you get
mistakes,
sliding. Sir.
see, by making a statement like this, you are committing bigger mistakes.
Okay, sir.
See, in a blind school, see, they are going by the training, if the 10 days they walk in that school, they can walk without even anybody's help. So if you daily change your doors and walls, this is never done in a blind school. Please study deeply into it. Involve yourself. You will not have sliding and partitions which are changed very often in a blind school. It could be in any other school, but not in a blind school.
Okay, sir.
This is the biggest mistake you are doing. By arguing, you are making bigger mistakes. Now you are this statement is worse than the earlier one.
Okay, sir.
In blind school, have you heard anywhere, read anywhere they have this sliding doors, partitions which are shifted? No. They can, then every day they need one assistant to train them. They have permanent walls so that people without anybody's help, they can move. Partitions walls are never given in a blind school.
Yes.
Okay. That is why your head of the department, madam, was explaining to you, you should have as many as curved walls and continuous wall so that it helps them. Wherever there is a cut of wall, they will make a provision in the floor. Where there is a gap in the wall, they'll alternatively help them through the floor. They change the floor pattern. You have to involve yourself deeply into the study. Please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, teachers.
Okay, I found your topic good. Like initially, you started with all these touch, sound, light, smell, how that could really aid to create environments for people who are blind or who have become blind due to this. But then later, as you go through the depth of the topic, I mean, the whole design vocabulary did not really, it showed near the walls and all that, but where the floors were designed and where the building vocabulary is designed, it would be better if you had more organic forms, rather than very sharp edges and very sharp corners, because they cannot negotiate where there are sharp corners because they can't see, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so it should be very smoothly free flowing environment,
Yes, ma'am.
internally as well as externally.
Yes, ma'am.
And landscape could have been a very major part of your this, because landscape sometimes you planting fragrant trees, planting the moment they get the fragrance, they know that they have reached near this particular place.
Yes, ma'am.
The
In
moment
between courtyard
they
spaces
can
are
your
there.
even water in various ways, still water, gurgling water, bubbler jet. So the moment you hear those qualities of water, they know that they have reached that particular place. So landscape could have been one of the major thing in your design environments.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
we had left out with one last one, and it was very nice deliberation by Wadir sir as well as Nishita madam. Whatever they have said, you please take into consideration, and it is very necessary that you have to ensure that sharp corners and all are not there. Okay, so that's a very good.
Madam, can I add? Madam, can I add? Dhanuja,
yeah, please add.
You have done a good study, but make it little more elaborate and yeah, add these few things and make it realistic. That's all. But a good study, add a few of these also, and then we can present it in a proper way. Okay, a little bit minor changes you add it, and I think you can go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
You work a little more on touch, sound, light, and smell, because these are the 4 things through which they actually negotiate all the environments. Touch you had handled when you had shown the walls, the texture, and how they really. But you work a little more on the floors also. Work a little more on even light will come above this. If the light will not be at the normal window level, because the glare may affect this also. So work on those issues a little bit more: touch, sound, light, and smell, and landscapes. Landscapes can be a very, very important thing. How does water help? How does trees help? How does the fragrance help? How does the sound of the water help to create those environments? Organic forms. Try to go for organic forms.
Yes,
Try
ma'am.
to avoid intermediate walls, because every time they will not have a helper who will help them to negotiate these environments, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is a real-time project, very important. So your topic is very interesting and very useful also. So this can be implemented, and you can make one format also, which can be guiding factor for all this designing of these kind of schools.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Dhanuja. Now the last one is, I think the last one is Deepta Girish.
Yeah, planning.
Planning.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I start my presentation. Good afternoon to all the panelists.
You introduce yourself and then start.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon to all the panelists. I'm Deepta Girish from 8th semester planning. And my thesis topic is role of planning and Gen Z technology in the current situation, that is a pandemic. I will be putting up my presentation. Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, it's visible.
To me, yes.
Okay. So when it comes to a pandemic, design and planning has a very societal role. So we need to interpret both the societal needs of the people and put it in a very empathetic and innovative way. So when it comes to such situations, there are a lot of like planning and technology, and having a very proper design can have a huge positive impact and control on such situations. When we consider Indian cities, most Indian cities aren't planned, but then the ones planned are also not well planned enough to handle such situations such as a pandemic. So getting into consideration technology will show a lot of betterment in this situation. So here my major research questions are based on the different digital technologies that have been used in the past for such epidemics and how they are effective, the specific populations which have used this and how it has helped them, the effects of these digital technologies on humans during the pandemic and after the pandemic. And my major question is, can we introduce a new model with the Generation Z technology to an urban area and develop preparedness? So here, right now, what we're going through is everything has come online. So everything we are doing as per the COVID-19 outbreak is online. So even if our lives have to go back to offline, there are a lot of improvements that have to be made to avoid the virus, and adding technology and databases can be the first step to it. So what we actually need right now is the need for preparedness, that is having advanced technology for fighting to fight a better future public health emergency in a very timely, systematic and a calm manner. So the aims and objectives of the study is to demonstrate the agglomeration of daily activities that can largely influence the growth rate, size and timings of these urban epidemics, understanding the technologies and integrating such technologies with planning for a smaller scale of people. That is, I'm focusing on Bangalore, not the whole world for now in this case study. Integration of technology into transportation and mobility plans for the future of COVID living. That is mainly focusing on BMTC buses and creating a database available to the public to limit human contact and make BMTC a viable mode of transport even during situations of uncertainty. So here the methodology that I will be following is understanding the city's responses to COVID-19, learning from early recovery and imagining the cities of tomorrow, pandemic effects count, analysis, big data collection, tracking, conceptualization, people's approach and the effects, and also I will be basing this through different places and case studies. And the third step is understanding and data collection of the transportation, mobility and infrastructure patterns in Bangalore, inclusion of census data into the study, collection of data codes and technology involved in various organizations, basic detailed model preparation for the same, and I will also be doing a SWOT analysis after the model is prepared and feedback and conclusion. So here my study area is, I've taken Bangalore because Bangalore is in India is known as the Silicon Valley, and it is the fastest growing city when it comes to technology. That is why I've chosen Bangalore. And here Bangalore has a road network of almost 10,200 kilometers with a road density of 8.2 according to the report by Global Mobility Monitor Network. And BMTC buses are the major primary mode of public transport in Bangalore. As of September 2019, BMTC operates a fleet of almost 6,000 plus buses and has a ridership of 35.6 lakh. So you all must be wondering why I've chosen government buses, that to BMTC particularly for my study. So these are the reasons. First reason is the investment in public transport is very imperative. That is, we have reduced congestion, reduced energy needs and reduced emissions. So in this, BMTC is relatively cheaper and has higher emission efficient forms. And also it is to maintain, improve and increase the public transport share within the city. That is, it needs to be upgraded and augmented significantly. And BMTC and Metro Rail within its network forms an integrated public transport. So even if BMTC is not one of the primary transports, it is also used as paratransit. Wherever you need to go within the city of Bangalore, you will have to use BMTC at one point, at least as a paratransit. And the second point is investment requirement for buses is much lesser and the network coverage is higher compared to all the other modes of transport, public transportation. Then the ridership estimates are realized in a very short time. That is, the data analysis and collection for me will be easier, and the modifications also that I will be proposing can also be implemented easily. And the last reason is other mass rapid transport infrastructure has a very high risk locking. That is, they require a lot of space, money and time. While as in BMTC, it is already there. They work on the space which is already given to them, and the risk lock-in is lesser. So when it comes to BMTC, their key issues are they have technology, but they're still everything is working manually itself. And then even they have more increasing pollution levels. They have a very declining profitability. Even the ridership, you see, like in the chart below, in the graph below, I have mentioned that the number of passengers carried, the growth rate is increasing every year. Even if we have more ridership, people are preferring to go by private transport itself because of such situations of uncertainty. That is the pandemic as of now. The only technology that BMTC is using as of now is electronic ticketing system, vehicle tracking systems, and passenger information systems. And the role and importance of BMTC is they have a daily passenger trips of 50 lakh, in which they serve a population of 26 lakh, and the percent more share to this public transport is almost 30%. So here the BMTC provides few services during the COVID-19 lockdown. That is, they have their regular service stopped in the first lockdown itself, that is on March 25th, 2020. But BMTC still continues to be a very essential part of Bangalore's COVID-19 response. That is, they have dedicated 160 buses for essential services like health workers, 250 buses to provide mobility to more than 21,000 stranded labor, chartered services to corporates, and then 12 new health service routes are designed to connect Bangalore to the most used hospitals in Bangalore. Then they have special services to Vivansada, and they've also cut down the service kilometer to 20,000. That is only 2% of the normal daily ridership, and it has approximately only 10,000 passengers are commuting per day through BMTC. So the accelerating reforms that they have proposed is only the transition to digital ticketing, that is monthly passes using QR codes and conducting apps. And also one of the biggest projects that BMTC has done is implementing bus priority lanes. So when in this lockdown period, they have proposed their own bus corridors in Bangalore. So when it comes to BMTC initiatives, according to the National Urban Transport Policy, they have followed the increased operational efficiency, technological advancement, but the technological advancement, they have only done digital video recording and for all the buses. That's the only technological advancement done. And infrastructure development, increased public responsiveness, and improved road safety management. So here, even though BMTC is following an intelligent transport system right now, it is still failing in such COVID situations. And BMTC was also known to be the highest touch points. Like, it was known to be the super spreader of this virus. So my idea comes in here, where I have proposed the idea of real-time rerouting. So here, what we have now is a very static routing based approach. That is, our buses and our public transportation have very fixed routes and the frequency irrespective of the demand. The demand is given the least importance. So the idea is to propose a very innovative method to solve this problem by rerouting the buses to on the go based on the public demand. So the public can interact, manipulate, and also have an effect on how the buses move around the city. And this is done using a central server, which will be taken by an application. So to facilitate this demand, there is an algorithm used, and the aim of real-time rerouting is to maximize the service rate of transit passengers and the profit of the operators, and reducing the contact. So here the methodology is, in phase 1, we follow the real-time data which are collected once a new passenger request is proposed. So the pickup location and drop location windows are collected, and only where there is demand, the buses will reroute. And also the phase 2 is where the transit route optimization models are established. So here, for example, imagine you go to a bus station and the bus is already filled at a particular point. So it goes directly to the required locations and doesn't stop at every bus stop. Then another proposal is demand-oriented flexible rerouting for the public transit under uncertainty. So here I'm talking about flexible rerouting strategy to accommodate the spatio-temporal variation in the travel demand. That is, we consider the space and the time. So here the transit routes are very static in nature, like I told. They have very well-defined routes, and they only follow those routes even if there are riders like passengers or not. So in this flexible transit mode, we can reroute the buses to accommodate a high travel demand areas away from the static routes as well, considering this spatio-temporal variation. So here it performs clustering to identify several flex stops. That is the stops that you can that are not static in nature. You can reroute it only to the demand-based orientation stops. So these stops are not static, but then they have a lot of high travel demand and profit. So here the static routes are converted into critical and non-critical bus stops. The critical bus stops refers to the transfer points where the people change bus routes to reach their destination. But in the existing scheduling process, some slack time is also provided to account any travel delays. So all of this, the public can track using an app. So it is basically reducing the number of time they take, the number of other modes of transport they take to reach the bus stop, and it will also cut down more than 60% of human contact. So here the methodology that they have used and also I have thought about is the discretization of the real time. So here the temporal variation is considered in several intervals, and then the two things that which determine the length of the time interval is the time interval which equals to the time taken to one trip, and the time interval which represents the time taken to cover a set of trips. So then the next process is the estimation of travel demand. So here the spatial distribution of the travel demand is available in a further analysis. That is the usage of applications like big data and AI, which are also very similar to Google Map application, but then they provide real-time delay information which the Google Maps do not provide. This can be used for an accurate trip planning. Also, the third step is identification of flex stops. Here, the spatial distribution of the travel demand, we can identify the spatial locations with high travel divide around them, and the flex stops which are introduced very close by. So instead of taking a bigger route and increasing the travel time, they can find an easier route which is easier in distance and will cut down a lot of time. So here the rerouting is to serve flex stops, that is according to the public demand. Also the other proposal that I have in mind is the crowd prediction, which is also done by using big data and AI. This is currently being used in Beijing, and rerouting using data science, technological advances within the transit stations itself and the buses, then social media into planning, that is getting social media into consideration and understanding where the bus is at. So it is basically a GPRS system, and to follow shorter routes. So how innovative is my design is, as of now, this project has not been implemented in India, and Bangalore has the highest technological value, and they have served all the sectors except for transportation. So here the only proposals they've used in transportation are very manual, and very little technology is being used. So this project would be one of its kind. Then if the funding is provided, is my project executable? Yes, it is. Like, there are many similar projects in Portland, Delhi and Mysore. Like, when we take the example of Delhi follows DIMTS system. That is, they also followed a project, BRT project, which was inspired by Bogota BRT system, which they are following the real-time rerouting and the demand, but then not to a bigger level. They have the number of buses they have is very less, which is 4,000 as compared to Bangalore. So their execution has also been done very particularly. And also my funding would require a minimum of 50 lakh. That is, if I consider the vehicles and the technological sources which are already existing in ITS BMTC. And how unique is my design from others that it might be selected is, even my project is not only innovative, but it is practical, keeping in mind the current scenario. which is why it looks over the majority contactless transit development in Bangalore as of now, which is not there. That's it, ma'am.
Yeah, Deepta, I found your project very innovative and very practical from the point of view of the present scenario of the whole issue of using the BMTC to read out the whole the track. So it's really nice. Congratulations. Good
Thank you,
idea.
ma'am.
I would add,
It could be prototyped across cities.
Ma'am?
Can it be prototyped across cities?
Yes, ma'am. It can be prototyped across cities, but it is only applicable to like urban areas as of now, because technology and rural areas are not. They don't go well as of now. That's
Okay.
it.
And also the transportation patterns and the traffic patterns will be different across different cities.
Ma'am?
Transportation patterns and traffic patterns will differ across cities.
Yes, ma'am. They will differ. But then this project can be executed in any city.
Okay.
no, good, Deepta, and I think it's a very interesting one, and it can be implemented also. But little discussion with some software person is required to make it real project. So I think it's a good concept. Please,
Yes,
I think very interesting.
Thanks.
Anybody, any questions from her? Nishita madam?
No, I asked him, ma'am. I asked him.
Okay. So can we ask the students to leave?
Yes.
Yeah. All the students, please leave the forum from here. Only the panel will be here. Rest all will be. I think they have left. We have Wadiyar sir, Soumya madam, Nalini madam, Gayatri madam, Nishita madam, and myself. Okay. Now, what do you find? Nishita madam, please tell us your order.
Yeah, I found the fourth one in terms of planning. This Deepta's number one, ma'am. Lake
Yeah.
can be second. Lakes can be second.
Uh-huh.
Third can be the resilience, and fourth the agriculture around. Land suitable.
Yeah, I think it is the same order that even I have.
Yeah,
here.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes. What about the others? I have sent a form. There is a form which has reached you. You'll have to fill up that form also and send it across, because we'll be compiling that also along with the sheets and sending.
Okay.
Yeah, others please, sir, Wadiyar sir. Gayatri madam.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. So
Yeah.
this planning order is Deepta's is first, you said, right?
Yeah, Deepta.
Yeah. And second is I felt urban lakes.
Lake, yes. Saujanya.
Yeah.
That is absolutely in the same order. Yeah. Third and fourth.
Sujits and Medas.
Yeah. I think most of us agree on the same thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, it was very evident, the flow.
Yeah. And there was consistency in the thought process also, and there was innovation in
Yeah.
Deepta's. Yeah, and even in the lakes ones, there was consistency, and she knew what she's doing. And so
Exactly.
it was a very beautiful strategy. So first can be Deepta,
Yeah.
because it's more innovative than the lakes one. Second could be the lakes one, according to me.
Yeah, second one is the lake.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what about the architecture?
Architecture, for me, the first one could be the solidarity, envisioning social inclusion. No, that
Yeah.
according to me,
The
because
Prerna is the first one,
yeah,
right?
Prerna. The blind one, what happened? She got a little bit confused. She started off properly, but then later she made certain statements which are not very much in this. So, mine first one will be the Prerna. Then second one, and little second one could be the not PTSD. It's,
We have this disaster management and
third one, third participant. The third participant, Center for Rescue Relief, could be the second one, according to me.
Yeah, that is Sneha Kripa.
Yeah, Sneha Kripa.
Yeah, same here. And third, I think, is the blind school.
Yeah, third could be blind school.
And the fourth is Revati.
Yeah.
PTSD.
PTSD.
Yeah, I think it's same thing here. And what about the others? Gayatri, Nalini, madam?
I have followed the same order. First is Prerana.
Yeah.
Second is Sneha. Third Dhanuja. That is blind.
Fourth one is Revati.
PTSD. Yeah, Revati.
Yeah. Gayatri, madam.
One is, but I think I'll give trauma first and then blind school. Last is blind school.
Oh, yeah, the last, third and fourth is the change. But first and second, there's no change.
Of course. First and
second, do you have any changes?
No.
It's the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are supposed to send final two from architecture planning. And all of us have to get that right. Monday. Soumya?
Ma'am, I would go with Prerana, Sneha, Revati and Dhanuja. The same as what Gayatri ma'am says.
Okay. So now third and fourth is the only change. That's fine. What all of you can do is you can submit those forms. Nishita madam, you please send across that form.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So that we'll compile and we'll accordingly send it across. So,
madam, my only thing is lake should.
Prerana. Second is Sneha Kripa.
Yeah. First is Prerana, second is Sneha Kripa.
Okay. And in planning, it is Deepta.
Yeah.
And the second one is Saujanya.
Yes.
Yeah. So with this, we'll wind up on that. And it was really very nice, Nishita madam. You have taken on a Saturday so much of time off, and you have come. And the best part of the whole thing is like all of us have actually gone on the same kind of pattern, and which means which clearly says that the line of thinking was exactly what majority of the people feel.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you for giving us opportunity.
Thank you.
It's really nice. So please send that this one. I have received your non-disclosure form also.
Yeah, yesterday I mailed it, ma'am.
Yeah.
I mailed the non-disclosure.
Yeah, that one, and now this one also you send it across. We'll compile this along with the video, which will be burnt on the CD, and we'll be sending it across.
Yes, ma'am. I will do that. I'll send it right away.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, pleasure.
What else, sir? Do you have anything to say?
No. Only my only take was Lake was first and Deepti was second, but it's okay. Now I go with the group.
No, you're right. You have been given the form. You can write it in that form.
Okay. My only thing was Deepti second, Saujanya first, urban lakes, because it is creating a lot of problem all over the state now. So I felt it is more relevant, more apt at this per se, and in the planning process, it is going to be a very landmark base map, so that encroachment, can be stopped at the approval stage itself. So I thought that would be first place, and Deepta's also is good. I, in my personal opinion, I made it the second one. So if you want, I'll give it like that, or I will go with
you give, sir, all of you have been given the form. What you feel right, you put it across and send. Because when we are writing the final, this one and sending it across, we are not just sending the decisions. We are attaching these forms also along with it.
Okay. Okay then.
Okay, so all of us here, we felt Deepta's most relevant, because this pandemic keeps coming every now and then, and this is going to be eternal. And I think her solutions that she was trying to say was more useful, keeping in mind the immediate requirement. So that is the reason we, at least I have chosen that particular, and her the way her approaches, everything was very nice. What do you say, Nishita madam?
Yes, yes, I agree with Deepta because it is a very innovative solution from the present scenario point of view. Lake also, of course, it is a good strategy because it will stop further degradation of the lakes. But if I compare both, I found Deepta's more innovative, man.
Okay. So what we can do is all of us, sir, you can put Saujanya first, no problem. So all of you, please put it up like what you felt. Now, for example, HOD planning and Soumya have felt the last 3 and 4 different. Okay. Just you put it in the same order in which you feel. And, but one thing what we all know is the first 2 people are the same, whether it is whether it is in the second name or in the first name. The final set will go only those 2 names.
Yes.
That is the common.
Yeah,
Deepta and Saujanya are the only 2 people who will be finally going.
Yes.
That is the common.
Yeah.
The only difference here is like whether they have, who has to be first kept, who has to be kept second. That is the only thing. And that particular thing, each one can give this much explanations to that and put it across.
Ma'am, we have to just say 1, 2, 3, 4, na?
Yeah, you have to say 1, 2, 3, 4. And that form will get attached in. So that is it. So I really thank you all of you. I think we are heading towards the lunchtime also. And I'm sorry, Nishita, because it is an online thing, I can't even provide you coffee and tea.
No problem, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you very much.
But it is really wonderful that you gave your second time.
Yes.
And thank you. Hope there are only 5 colleges which are there. Your college, my college, and then KSSA, BMSSA, and Impact. These are the only 5 colleges who have been asked to submit the projects.
Yeah.
That is really very nice for us. Let us see our students how they go ahead.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.